Hi there, I'm Craig Cruz, author of MUSSOPO and His Great Adventure. I'm here to read another chapter. I want to make a special mention, though, today to my grandson Seneca, who's been watching these videos. Seneca, I hope you enjoy Chapter 9. Let's get started. In the distance. The next day was spent in the warmth of the cabin. MUSSOPO and Star stayed in the little cabin exploring and looking for more food, which they had found. Moki would go out and explore, but never too far or for too long. They decided that they should move on. The snow had stopped falling, but it was still deep on the ground. The two friends climbed onto the back of the dog. He started the hard walk through the deep snow. "You are going north," MUSSOPO said to Moki, politely guiding him in the right direction. "I want to show you something before we start toward home. Your home. I'm not sure which direction it is, but it is something that you need to see," Moki said, still walking north. Moki climbed a series of frozen, slippery rocks that he'd found earlier while exploring. It was harder to climb with this extra weight that he now carried on his back. When he got to the pinnacle, the animals were in awe at the view that lay before them. "It's beautiful," Star said. "It is," Moki agreed and continued. "Do you see what I see?" he asked. MUSSOPO looked to the east of the beautiful scene and saw the town that Moki was seeing. "That looks like a large town." "It does. Maybe there's someone in that town that wants a pet dog," Moki said, sounding hopeful. "Maybe there is," MUSSOPO said encouragingly. "And it is to the east." "We will have to be careful. It could be very dangerous," Star said in her normal, timid voice. "Yes, it can. Of course, it is kind of dangerous here as well," MUSSOPO said, looking around him. The opossum and rat climbed upon the dog once again, and after a little while were able to walk again in the snow that was not as deep. They made their way down the mountain. The two rats were exhausted and hungry. They had little to eat the last couple of days and had not had proper shelter. They had lost the trail of the three and had decided that it would be better to just get off of the mountain. As they made their way, they stumbled across the little cabin and immediately smelled that the rat, possum, and dog had been there. They searched the cabin for food but couldn't find any. They hurried out, once again losing the scent in the snow, but they could see where the dog had carved out a path in the deep snow, making it easier for the two rats not only to follow their prey, but to just walk in the snow, as it was easier from the path that he had made. They followed up the slippery rocks and looked out over the horizon. "Look out there, do you see that?" asked one of the rats. "Yeah, it is very nice," the other rat said without thinking. "Nice? What's nice? I'm talking about the town below," the rat said, frustrated at the other one. "Do you know what they have in towns?" he asked, not expecting an answer from the other rat and continuing with his thought. "They have restaurants, which means food, and lots of it, with big dumpsters filled to the top with what they throw away. We will eat like kings," the rat sneered. "Won't it be dangerous down there?" asked the other rat. "Yeah, it will be dangerous. Are you going soft on me? What is wrong with you? We don't care about danger, never have, never will," the rat said firmly. "No, I didn't. I was just thinking about rat traps and people with brooms that might hit you if you get into their garbage," he said hesitantly. "Be sneaky, don't get caught, and stay away from the traps. It is not that hard to do. Just be smart about it and sneaky about it," the rat said to the other one as he started following the path that Moki had left. The other rat hesitated for a moment, but joined him in the cold snow. Moki, MUSSOPO, and Star had finally come out of the snow. There were just little patches on the ground in several different places. They stopped to rest and could hear a roaring river far below them in the valley below. MUSSOPO and Star walked to the edge of the steep cliff. "Oh, please be careful," Star said, worried. "I will," smiled MUSSOPO, looking over the edge. They moved away from the edge and rested, remembering the small stream that they had enjoyed on the other side of the mountain. Moki wandered off as MUSSOPO and Star sat together, enjoying the small amount of warmth coming from the rays of the sunshine that shone on them. The rats saw them from the distance resting just out of the snow. They noticed that the dog wasn't there. With little thought, both rats were immediately standing in front of MUSSOPO and Star. "You thought you had escaped us, but we have found you," he hissed at them. At once, one of the rats pounced on Star, pushing her away from MUSSOPO toward the edge of the cliff. She screamed. The evil rat smiled. The other rat just stood there watching. MUSSOPO lunged towards the rat, but the rat's voice stopped him in his tracks. "One step closer and I will push her over the edge," he hissed. "Please leave us alone. Leave her alone," MUSSOPO begged, hoping Moki was close by. "We vowed revenge and we will get it," the rat said, looking toward the other rat. The other rat walked toward his partner and the small scared rat to the edge. He was facing MUSSOPO. He could see that MUSSOPO was scared, and when he looked at his traveling companion, he saw only hatred in his eyes. They stood for a long time in silence, with only Star whimpering. Suddenly, the mean rat began to push the small rat over the edge. She fought with everything that she had, but she was no match for the rat that was twice her size. She was leaning over the edge when from out of nowhere the other rat grabbed the evil rat and began to wrestle. MUSSOPO's long tail quickly wrapped around the small rat, pulling her to safety as the two rats tumbled on the ground, biting and scratching each other. MUSSOPO and Star were confused as to why the rats were fighting each other. They began to realize that one of the rats had had a change of heart and no longer wanted revenge. MUSSOPO was thankful that the other rat had come to the rescue, but now that the two were rolling around the ground, he could not tell which rat was which, for they looked quite similar to each other. All of a sudden, the fight was over, as one of the rats somersaulted over the steep edge towards the raging waters below. The rat looked over the edge and turned his attention back toward the possum and small rat. Star was scared. Before anything was able to be spoken, Moki came running toward the three creatures, quickly placing himself between the rat and his two friends, growling fiercer than his friends had ever seen. He was going to protect them no matter what. The rat backed towards the steep cliff, afraid of the scraggly dog. MUSSOPO and Star relaxed at the sight of their friend. That was chapter 9. Chapter 10 is next, and it's entitled Friend or Foe. I hope you'll join me as we read that next time. I want to encourage you to read. I want to encourage you to write. I just want to encourage you to be creative, because remember, the next chapter could be yours.